There's a powerful truth that often gets lost in the world of modern dating. The more someone feels they've figured you out too soon, the quicker their curiosity fades. And that curiosity? That's the fuel that powers attraction. The moment a man feels like there's nothing left to explore, no mystery to uncover, no layers to peel back, is the moment he mentally shifts from pursuit to passivity. This doesn't mean you need to play games or manipulate him. It simply means you don't need to hand over every detail of your inner world like it's a resume on a job interview. If you want to ignite long-lasting interest and inspire someone to chase you not just at the beginning, but continuously, you have to learn how to keep a little part of yourself sacred. Mystery is not withholding. It's not about silence, it's about selective revelation. Think about the people in your life that you find most captivating. Chances are, it's not the ones who broadcast everything they're thinking and doing. It's the ones who reveal parts of themselves slowly and intentionally. The ones who surprise you. The ones who just when you thought you knew them, show you another beautiful side of who they are. That's the kind of intrigue that sustains long-term attraction. It's like reading a novel where every chapter brings something new, where you're excited to turn the page because you haven't figured the whole story out yet. Unfortunately, in the early stages of dating, so many women fall into the trap of over-explaining, out of fear of being misunderstood, out of the desire to be seen as not playing games, or from the need to gain approval. They lay everything bare. They give the full background story, justify every decision, clarify every emotion, and disclose every future plan. And while that may seem like it's coming from a place of honesty, it can actually have the opposite effect. It removes any sense of tension or curiosity. It shifts the dynamic from a natural unfolding to something that feels overly managed and too easy to categorize. When you remove all the mystery too soon, you also rob someone of the natural joy of earning your trust. Men especially have a hardwired need to feel like they're discovering something, like they're slowly becoming important enough to be let into your world. When that process happens too quickly, when he feels like he has full access without having to truly connect, earn or show up consistently, it devalues the experience. Not because you aren't valuable, but because the journey of discovering you was cut short. This doesn't mean you should shut down emotionally or avoid being open. Quite the opposite. You should absolutely share your thoughts, your desires, your vulnerabilities, but gradually, like a beautiful song that unfolds verse by verse, your connection should build depth over time. Think of it like this. You're not being distant, you're being intentional. You're giving someone the gift of learning you layer by layer, not in one overwhelming download. You're allowing mystery to create momentum. Men fall for the woman who feels slightly unpredictable, not in her values or intentions, but in her presence. The woman who doesn't need to be validated by his approval. The one who can be fully engaged in the moment, yet can disappear for a few days into her world and come back with a glow. That unpredictability creates intrigue. It makes a man wonder what you're up to, not because you're being manipulative, but because you've built a life outside of him. You're not rushing to explain your every move, your every message, or your silence. You trust that if he's curious enough, he'll lean in. He'll want to know. He'll pursue. There's something incredibly powerful about a woman who doesn't panic when a man doesn't fully understand her, who doesn't feel the need to immediately correct or clarify herself, who's okay being misunderstood, because she knows that the right person will take the time to understand her fully and will enjoy the process of doing so. That kind of woman isn't just mysterious, she's magnetic. And let's be clear, this isn't about playing hard to get, it's about being hard to forget. It's about building a connection that's not just intense, but sustainable. The kind of connection that makes him want to keep learning you, keep showing up, keep asking questions. That's what makes someone chase, not the loud declarations or the oversharing or the performative vulnerability, but the subtle confidence that says you'll get to know me, but only if you're truly present, only if you're consistent, only if you earn your way into the deeper parts of me. So how do you apply this in your real life? Start small. When you're on a date and he asks about your past, don't feel pressure to explain every relationship. Give him a meaningful glimpse and let him ask more if he's interested. If he compliments you, say thank you, but don't fall into the trap of justifying why you do or don't deserve it. Hold your ground. Let him sit in the presence of your calm confidence. If you're upset or unsure about something, take your time. Don't dump your thoughts all at once. Feel them, process them, then express them in a way that invites him into your emotional space, not overwhelms him with it. Remember this, the right man isn't afraid of a woman with depth. In fact, he's drawn to it. But that depth must be revealed like a story worth reading, not like a resume to be reviewed. When you own your mystery, when you stop over-explaining yourself, and when you let someone earn the privilege of knowing your heart, you become unforgettable. You become the woman he thinks about in the quiet moments, the one he wants to understand, the one he knows he can't replace. That's how the chase never ends, because with you there's always something beautiful left to discover. There's something irresistibly powerful about a woman who knows how to hold back just enough to spark curiosity. In today's world of constant sharing and instant access, it might seem counterintuitive, but mystery is more attractive than ever. When a man meets a woman who doesn't feel the need to immediately explain every feeling, justify every decision, or put all her thoughts on display, it sets her apart from the crowd, not because she's cold, distant, or playing games, but because she knows the value of emotional pacing. She understands that intimacy is something to be earned, not poured out on the first date like water from a broken tap. When you meet someone new, there's a natural tendency, especially if you're a caring and emotionally intelligent person, to want to be understood. You want them to know your intentions, to see your heart, to not misinterpret who you are, and while this desire is human, over-explaining can actually work against you. The more you lay out, the more predictable you become, and the more predictable you are, the less someone feels the need to explore. People chase what they don't fully grasp, what they find intriguing, what keeps them wondering. A little bit of mystery acts like a flame. It draws them closer, makes them lean in, and builds emotional momentum. This doesn't mean you need to hide who you are. It means you reveal yourself in layers, with intention. A woman who walks into a man's life and doesn't hand him the blueprint to her soul is doing something smart. She's making him earn her story. She's giving him room to wonder, to ask questions, to pursue answers. She isn't emotionally dumping or laying all her cards on the table in a rush to prove her authenticity. Instead, she trusts that the right man will be curious enough to peel back each layer and patient enough to discover what makes her truly special. Over-explaining usually comes from fear. Fear of being misunderstood, fear of rejection, fear of not being enough. But the truth is, explaining yourself constantly doesn't protect you. It dilutes your presence. It tells someone, I don't trust that you'll see my worth unless I break it down for you. And that's not attractive. What is attractive is confidence. Confidence in your silence, confidence in your boundaries, confidence in your right to be partially unknown. Because the right person won't be discouraged by that. They'll be inspired by it. They'll rise to meet it. Think of the people you find compelling in your own life. Are they the ones who reveal everything about themselves right away? Probably not. It's the ones who speak with meaning, who are comfortable with a pause, who seem to have a whole world inside them you haven't fully discovered yet. That's what keeps your interest alive. It's not about being unavailable, it's about being worth discovering, and that's the kind of energy that makes a man want to chase. There's also a key psychological principle at play here. Investment breeds value. When a man has to work to understand you, when he's intrigued by your emotional depth and drawn to your calm presence, he invests mentally and emotionally. And when people invest, they don't walk away easily. If you give away too much too fast, there's no emotional buy-in, there's no process of discovery. But when you pace the connection, when you make him earn those deeper conversations and more intimate moments, he feels like he's uncovering something rare, something not everyone gets access to. That's how real bonds form, not through instant over-connection, but through earned emotional intimacy. This is why it's important not to feel guilty for not explaining yourself all the time. If you don't text back immediately, you don't owe a paragraph. If he doesn't understand your entire dating history, or why you're cautious with your heart, you don't have to give him the whole emotional archive in one sitting. It's not dishonest to say that's something I share over time. It's not rude to say let's save that story for another day. In fact, it's powerful. It sets a boundary that communicates, I am worth the time it takes to truly know me. The chase isn't about games, it's about curiosity. And curiosity doesn't exist when someone feels like they've already figured you out. You don't have to be mysterious by force, you just have to resist the urge to fill every silence with an explanation, to leave room in the conversation for wonder, to let your actions, your energy, your presence speak louder than your words. Men remember the woman who surprised them, who didn't need their validation, who could sit in silence without anxiety, who answered a question with a smile and said, you'll learn that in time. That's not manipulation, that's poise, that's elegance, that's emotional self-respect, and it triggers something deep in a man's nature, the desire to earn the connection, to keep showing up, asking more, doing more, because he knows she doesn't just give herself away. She's not trying to be chosen, she's observing if he's worthy of choosing. This is what makes her unforgettable. This is what keeps the chase alive, not just in the beginning, but for years, when he knows that being with her isn't a transaction but a journey, that no matter how much time passes, there's still something beautiful left to discover. So don't be afraid of being misunderstood for a moment. Don't rush to explain your silence, your standards, your schedule, or your story. The man who's meant to be in your life will lean in, not pull away. He'll chase you, not because you're withholding, but because you've mastered the art of being just open enough to invite him in, and just self-respecting enough to make him want to stay. In relationships, there's a subtle yet powerful difference between being open and being overly available. In the desire to connect, many women fall into a trap of over-explaining themselves. They rush to be fully understood, to prove they're not hiding anything, and to avoid being misunderstood. But here's the truth, when you explain every thought, every emotion, and every move you make, you unknowingly strip away the very intrigue that keeps someone drawn to you. One of the most magnetic things you can do is allow a man the opportunity to discover you gradually.
You don't have to reveal everything at once. In fact, the slower you let someone in, the more deeply they'll appreciate what they find. Mystery doesn't mean playing games or being dishonest. It means allowing some parts of yourself to unfold with time. It means knowing that you don't need to rush to fill every silence or clarify every pause. When a man doesn't fully understand you yet, that's not a problem. It's an opportunity. That slight uncertainty creates space for him to chase, to ask questions, to make an effort. The moment he feels like he knows everything, the excitement begins to fade. Not because you're any less interesting, but because part of the attraction lies in the chase, the curiosity, the discovery, the effort it takes to really get to know someone. When you give too much too soon, you rob him of that experience. You hand him the answers before he's even asked the questions. Think of it like a story. The best books don't give you the ending on page 1. They draw you in chapter by chapter, keeping you engaged and invested. In dating, you are that story. You are the book worth reading. But if you summarize every chapter too early, there's no reason to keep turning the pages. Some women over-explain because they fear silence. They fear the space between messages, the pause in conversation, or the idea that a man might not fully understand their intentions. So they fill that space with words, with explanations, with reassurances. But the irony is, that very act often weakens their position. It tells the man, I need you to understand me right now, so I'm going to convince you of who I am. And convincing energy is very different from confident energy. A confident woman knows who she is. She doesn't rush to explain herself, because she's not worried about being misinterpreted by someone who hasn't earned the right to know her deeply yet. When you maintain a little mystery, you keep your emotional power. You send the message that your life is rich, full, and not waiting for someone else to validate it. That message is powerful. It's attractive. It's the kind of energy that makes a man think about you long after the date ends. He wonders what you're thinking. He replays the conversation. He plans the next time he'll see you, because he wants to know more. That's not manipulation. That's simply pacing the emotional journey in a way that makes space for genuine interest and pursuit. Let's be honest, men don't fall in love with explanations. They fall in love with how you make them feel. And when you hold a little bit back, not in a cold or dismissive way, but in a confident, composed way, it makes them feel like they're chasing something rare, someone who knows her value, someone who doesn't hand over emotional access to just anyone. That energy is magnetic. It's unforgettable. There's a psychological principle at work here, called the investment effect. The more effort someone puts into something, the more they value it. If a man has to work a little to understand you, to get to know your world, to earn your vulnerability, he becomes more invested. He sees you as someone worth showing up for. But if everything is given to him up front, if you explain your every motive, answer every question before he asks, and offer your full emotional availability too early, there's nothing left for him to work for. And without investment, there's no emotional glue to keep him committed. This is where boundaries come into play. You don't need to explain why you're busy. You don't need to justify why you took time to reply. You don't need to break down your dating history, or why your last relationship failed on the first date. If he's truly interested, he'll stay curious, he'll lean in, he'll want to know more. And as he proves himself through effort, consistency, respect, you can begin to reveal more of yourself. Not because you owe it to him, but because he's earned it. Sometimes women believe that by sharing everything up front, they're speeding up connection. But true connection isn't built through emotional oversharing. It's built through shared experiences, trust, and time. You don't need to be an open book from the start. Let him earn the right to read each chapter of you. Let him work to understand the things you value, the reasons behind your choices, the softness behind your strength. That process, that discovery, is what creates a lasting bond. A woman who embraces a little mystery becomes the woman a man thinks about when she's not around. She's not constantly in his face, or in his inbox, but she lingers in his mind. He doesn't fully understand her, and that's what makes him want to see her again. He knows there's more to discover, more to earn, and the more he invests, the more he values her. That's the kind of connection that doesn't burn out after a few dates. It grows stronger. So stop feeling the need to explain yourself all the time. You're not here to convince anyone of your worth. You're not here to be understood by everyone, especially not immediately. The right man will take his time. He'll chase, he'll ask, and he'll love that you didn't hand everything over right away. He'll see the beauty in the mystery, and because of that, he'll never stop wanting to learn more. In the early stages of a relationship, many women make the mistake of doing too much too soon. They lead the conversation, carry the emotional weight, plan the dates, and keep things moving forward out of fear that if they don't, the connection will fade. But what this often does is flip the natural dynamic. Instead of allowing the man to show up, to initiate, and to demonstrate his interest through action, she becomes the emotional leader, and in doing so she unknowingly steals the space that's required for a man to truly pursue her. If you want a man to chase you, not just initially, but in a lasting, meaningful way, you have to master the art of matching his energy, not leading it. That means observing his level of effort, and meeting him at that level, not exceeding it. If he texts occasionally, you don't start texting constantly. If he plans one date, you don't plan 3 in return. Matching energy is not passive, it's powerful. It sends a message: I'm here, I'm open, but I'm not going to carry this relationship. I want a partner, not a passenger. So many women are taught, either directly or indirectly, that love is something you earn through giving, that if you show how caring, available and supportive you are, the other person will eventually see your value and reciprocate. But real attraction doesn't work that way. The more you overinvest before someone has emotionally shown up, the more you devalue your presence. Not because your love isn't worth it, but because you're giving it away before it's been earned. And people don't chase what comes too easily. They chase what they feel fortunate to receive. Matching energy means you stop trying to prove yourself. You stop auditioning. You stop showing up like it's your job to convince someone to choose you. Instead, you sit back and watch. You let people show you who they are through their actions, not just their words. If he says he's interested, he'll prove it. If he cares, he'll be consistent. And if he's serious, you won't have to chase him down or overextend yourself to maintain his attention. When you match his energy, something powerful happens. You reclaim your emotional center. You stop reacting to every text, every compliment, every breadcrumb of attention. You become calm, self-assured, and selective. You begin to realize that not everyone deserves immediate access to you. And in doing so, you create space for a man to rise to your level, to feel inspired to put in the effort, to make plans, to take the lead because he knows you're not going to do it all for him. This doesn't mean you become cold or indifferent. It means you respond to his investment, not his potential. There's a huge difference between seeing someone's potential and seeing their effort. Potential is meaningless without follow-through. So many women fall in love with who a man could be instead of who he's actually showing up as. Matching energy forces you to stay grounded in reality. You don't plan a future with a man who can barely plan a phone call. You don't give exclusive attention to someone who's still treating you like an option. You wait, you observe, you match. This principle also protects your peace. When you lead with energy that's calm and self-contained, you don't burn yourself out emotionally. You don't spiral trying to analyze his every move. You don't panic when he pulls back slightly, because you've never overextended to begin with. You've kept your pace. You've let the energy be mutual. And mutual energy is the foundation of a healthy, stable relationship. Let's say he sends a sweet message and asks how your day is going. Great, you respond with warmth and appreciation. But you don't immediately drop everything to keep the conversation going for hours if he doesn't initiate it. You don't reply instantly every time. Not because you're playing games, but because you're busy, and your life isn't centered around waiting for his next message. That energy of being fully present in your own life, while remaining open to connection, is what makes a man take notice. You become someone he has to show up for, not someone he assumes will always be available no matter what. Matching energy also builds mutual respect. When a man sees that you're not emotionally overcommitting before he's proven himself, he feels challenged in a healthy way. He knows that your attention means something, that your time and effort aren't given lightly. And that makes your affection feel valuable because it is. When he does step up, and you reward that effort with genuine appreciation and connection, it reinforces the dynamic. He puts in more because he sees it's reciprocated, not taken for granted or overdone. Some people might say, but what if he pulls back if I don't do more? Then let him. Because if someone pulls away the moment you stop overgiving, they were never really there to begin with. A real connection doesn't need to be forced. You won't have to constantly initiate or prove yourself to the right person. And the man who's truly interested in you, your mind, your energy, your heart, will chase, not because you played hard to get, but because you respected yourself enough not to give more than was being given in return. So remember this, you are not here to lead someone into loving you. You're not here to prove your worth by doing the most. You're here to see who shows up for you, and to meet them at that level. If they rise, you rise with them. If they stall, you stay steady and focused on your life. That's how you create a space where love isn't forced, but chosen. And that's exactly the kind of love that lasts.